Elly De La Cruz unlocked part of his game on Monday night that doubters love to hate.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Jeff Carr, and on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by Kalshi, for a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. On today's podcast, later on, I'm going to tell you why Rhett Lowder may be unlocking a cheat code. In just a few minutes, I'll tell you why Dane Myers is probably unlocking everyday playing time. No, he is unlocking everyday playing time. But we will begin with Elly, because that's where Monday ended, and Elly De La Cruz unlocks something else. This is the unlocked episode of the Locked On Reds podcast. Yeah, no, I understand the irony there. But there's definitely some guys that are unlocking some things within this roster and their individual performances. And Elly De La Cruz is the guy that I want to lead off with, because that is the thing that everybody wants him to do next. We continue to put obstacles in the way of our enjoyment of Elly De La Cruz. I am trying not to do this. I'm trying not to belabor any errors or base running mistakes that he continues to make, albeit they are much fewer in their number. There's not the same amount as there has been in years past, albeit the next time he makes an error, you're going to hear 3 or 4 guys say he does this every day. That's not right. But one thing that he has struggled mightily with in his career to this point is clutch hitting. And there's a lot of different ways to define clutch, but certainly a walk-off hit is clutch. Dude had a walk-off single on Monday night in the bottom of the 10th inning to earn the Reds a split of the doubleheader. Like, let's be honest, Game 1 was horrible. I'm very glad they won Game 2, so we can at least focus on something of positive note from Monday's games, and Elly was one of the biggest positives. But what does it mean to be clutch? Because Elly and clutch, and there's so many different people that are just like, wow, he's not clutch. You can't be a star without being clutch. If you're not clutch, then you're not going to get paid. In fact, I was listening to our friend Mo Egger in his radio show the other day, and there was a caller who called in and said that Elly will regret turning down the money from the Reds because of his lack of clutchness, that is going to add to the fact that Elly will not make the kind of money that everybody thinks he will, which was a preposterous take. I certainly believe Elly De La Cruz is going to get a ton of money on the open market whenever he hits that in a couple of years. But I can see the side of the argument about being clutch and what is the next step for him, because we believe that Elly can be this good, but what he is right now is not that good. And he's kind of, he's kind of like a microcosm for the Reds in that respect. Like, Elly is the face of the Reds in promotion and on the field. But he's also a microcosm of the Reds in performance, where it's just like, man, we're seeing good stuff from Elly. And this season, he has taken a step forward in almost every category at the plate. I mean, he hits amazingly right-handed, almost to the point that he's like a better right-handed hitter than left-handed hitter now. I think that's going to even out and stuff. The left-handed is going to catch up a little bit, but there's so many opposing managers that are trying to turn him around and make him bat right-handed. He's gotten really good at it, and that's a very encouraging development to see within his career. Overall, on the season, his OPS plus is higher this year than it was last year. It's higher this year than it's ever been, even through the slump that he's been going through this last week and a half or so. There's a lot about Elly that is better, and yet the clutch part of his hitting is not. That is something that I believe that any baseball fan will say. If you are a star, you are clutch. And there's a lot of different ways to define this, and I think we as fans know what clutch is, right? Like, you know, there's a big moment in the game, there are guys you want up, and there are guys that you don't. And I think from an excitement factor, we want Elly De La Cruz up. But there are certain statistics, like Baseball Reference has this one called late and close, that actually point to Elly not being that guy. In fact, it's really hard. And look, baseball statistics, there are numbers for everything, and I understand that. But Baseball Reference does a pretty good job of trying to encapsulate what a performance looks like in clutch moments with this late and close statistic. The idea is a late and close plate appearance is in the 7th inning or later with the batting team tied, ahead by 1, or the tying run at least on deck. So, like, either a 1-run game or there's multiple runners on base and the tying run's on deck or whatever that might be. Like, you've got a real good shot to change the outcome of the game right now, and it's the 7th inning or later. Elly has had 71 of those plate appearances so far this season, and that includes Monday night. He has a 196 batting average. He has a 330 on base, which is nice, but a 286 slugging. He has 3 doubles, 1 triple, and 7 RBI. Doesn't have any home runs. He also has 21 strikeouts in those moments. He has 11 total hits, 21 strikeouts in 71 plate appearances that are considered late and close, according to Baseball Reference. In fact, let's expand that out. His career, he's had 340 late and close plate appearances. He has a 208 batting average, a 300 on base, and a 312 slugging percentage. He has 11 doubles, 4 triples, 4 homers, and 32 RBI. Again, that's in 348 late and close plate appearances. He has a total of 32 RBI. He also has 109 strikeouts during that time. And as much as we see him as possibly being one of the best players in the league, as being the best shortstop in the league, all this other stuff, even those of us that are super positive about Elly De La Cruz, I'm not even talking about detractors at this point, but those of us who believe in him, believe he can be the best. So let's compare him to the best, Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr. is the best shortstop in the league. I don't know anybody that would argue that point. And his performance in late and close situations this season, he has 75 plate appearances, Bobby Witt does, in late and close games. He hits 318. He gets on base at a 413 clip, and he slugs 492. He's got 2 doubles, 3 homers, and 13 RBI. Remember, this year, Elly only has 7 RBI in late and close games. He also, Bobby Witt, has more hits than strikeouts. He has 20 hits and only 16 strikeouts in late and close plate appearances. I do believe that this is the first step for Elly to unlock the ability to pass this next great test. But the clutch element of his game has been something that has eluded him for his short career. Like, listen, he's 24 years old. That's the other part of this, right? Like, if you really want to be a detractor about Elly De La Cruz, realize something. This dude is just getting going. He's been in the league for 4 years, and he's 24. He still has a long time left to really become the superstar that we all believe he can be. I would love for him to be that superstar here in Cincinnati, and for him to do that, he's got to pass this clutch test. And I think that he just unlocked that. It's interesting to think, I mean, as these last couple of years being in the lineup, there's an element of Elly that makes us feel like, man, he's been here forever, right? He's been going at this for a while. He still has the ability to check off a box of like, yeah, career first. That walk-off single was his career first walk-off hit. He still does not have a walk-off home run, which would be great to see. But when it comes to Elly De La Cruz, he's got to figure out the clutch thing to really unlock stardom. But I think he unlocked the ability to pass that test on Monday night. Coming up next, Dane Myers should play every day, as Monday proved. Big thank you to our friends over at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy back-to-school shopping can get. I mean, it starts with just a few items, and then all of a sudden you're shopping for multiple different kinds of supplies. Clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things that you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. I mean, when the school says your child needs a calculator, headphones, a tablet for class, and somehow you're buying another one before the semester is halfway over. Since when do kids need so much tech for third grade anyway? Or when you look at the school supply list and wonder if you're shopping for one child or opening a small office supply store. I mean, I didn't realize first grade needed this much inventory. Shopping like this can get out of control if you're not careful. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar that you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day, and thank you for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Lock in by joining the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes, a monthly exclusive chat with Steve and myself, which will set forth that date whenever he returns tomorrow, and so much more. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com or just click the link down in the description below for your free 7-day trial. All right. Monday was also a big day in the lineup for one other guy. It wasn't a big day in the lineup for many guys. It was a bad day overall for hitting. But Dane Myers had himself a day. And I'm done with anybody else playing center field the rest of the season. I don't necessarily know that I'm marking Dane Myers down as the opening day center fielder, bar none, next year. Because if the Reds can go get themselves an everyday center fielder, I would like that. I don't think Dane Myers has unlocked that ability yet, but I think he's unlocked the chance to do that. Let's put it that way. Like he was awesome yesterday. I mean, huge day. He hits a homer in the first game, the only run in the first game. And then he hits a homer, think of the most dramatic home run you can think of in a baseball game. Okay, it's probably a grand slam with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Wasn't that. But Dane Myers came off the bench in the 9th inning with 2 outs and hit a game-tying homer to send it into extras that the Reds eventually won because of Elly De La Cruz's nice walk-off single. But it was fantastic to see him come in and do that. He has really provided some moments this year. You can think of a lot of different catches that he's had, a lot of different clutch hits early on in the season. There were more singles and doubles than they were homers. He's not a big home run guy. In fact, if you were to look at his slugging percentage, you would say, I don't know about this everyday thing. 376 ain't that great of a slugging percentage. But he is the on-base guy that this team needs. He is the contact guy that this team needs. He has the best on-base percentage on the team. Better than South Stewart's, better than Elly De La Cruz. Albeit he hasn't played as much as those guys, but still 229 plate appearances is not a tiny sample size. And he's getting on base better than 35% of the time. He also makes contact on just about everything. He's got an 85% contact rate inside the strike zone, and he also has a 69% contact rate, nice, outside the strike zone. So if he does swing at a pitch that's outside the zone, he's doing a good job of making contact with it at the very least. But what's also important about that statistic is he is the best player as far as like somebody who's gotten regular playing time at limiting the amount. Well, it's JJ Bleday and then him as far as limiting the amount of times he swings at a pitch outside the strike zone. Only JJ Bleday has a better rate of that on the team. And Dane Myers is only swinging at 22% of those pitches, which is fantastic. I mean, that's well above league average. League average is like in the 30s, I think. But Dane Myers has shown himself to be valuable at the plate, on the base paths. He's a decent runner. His sprint speed, while it's not like in the top percentile or any stretch of the imagination, he's in the top 65% of the league. Doing pretty well with the base running. And then in the field, he's got amazing arm strength. I would love to see the arm accuracy tick up a little bit. And he's an okay defensive center fielder. He's not amazing. You can make the argument for TJ Friedl, but even TJ Friedl has lost some of his range, and TJ Friedl does not have an arm. Speaking of TJ Friedl, that's somebody who should stop playing because Dane Myers should play every day. And I know you're probably thinking, Jeff, the right-handed thing, right? Like he's like not good against right-handed pitchers, right? Well, you're not wrong with that. I mean, His career OPS against right-handed pitchers is 583, but this year it's already ticked up a bit, up to 662. That's on-base plus slugging. He's also 13% worse than the league average hitter against righties this season, but that's not horrible. I mean, an 87 OPS plus against, or compared to the rest of the league against right-handers isn't horrible. And I think that the more exposure he's getting against righties, the more he's starting to see success. And that's why I want to see him every single day. He has an overall value despite the below averageness against righties and despite the below average slugging. He's actually, on the whole, an above average hitter because of how much contact he makes and how well he gets on base. And I really want to see that continue. I've also seen a point, and there's a point in favor of Dane Myers that I don't quite agree with. Like, there's folks out there that are like, oh man, look at the Reds' record whenever Dane Myers plays. I don't like doing that because there's so many other variables and factors that go into play that saying just because Dane Myers played, the Reds won is very, very, very simplified and ignores a lot of important details, like who else is on the field. But the individual performance that he adds to the team is far greater than TJ Friedl's is right now. TJ Friedl, I hate to see this because I did an episode as we were leading up in spring training. I had an episode of talking about I was worried about TJ Friedl having a bit of regression this year. I didn't think he would fall off a cliff performance-wise, and he has. I mean, such to the fact that, like, if you want to make the platoon argument, you say, okay, well, Dane Myers should hit against lefties, TJ Friedl should hit against righties. Dane Myers, like I mentioned, has an on-base plus slugging against righties of 662. TJ Friedl has an OPS against righties of 486. Under 500. That's horrible. TJ's, man, I don't know if it's like just injuries compounding and all this other stuff, but like something's happened to him. On the whole, like not against righties or lefties, like everybody, put it all in the same pot. TJ has more strikeouts than total bases. TJ Friedl has struck out 57 times. And he has 51 total bases. And just in case you're not, like, total bases means from hits. So, like, if he gets a single, he gets 1 base, double 2 base, triple 3 base, homer 4 base. You don't get bases for walks. It's just based on the hits. And so the total number of bases that he has got from hits is less than the amount of strikeouts he's had this year. He's a big negative on the lineup, and his defense does not make up for it. We could have that argument about Ke'Bryan Hayes another day. I think you know where it's going to go. But when it comes to TJ Friedl, he does not need to be taking at-bats away from Dane Myers. Dane Myers needs to play every day. And if there's an off day, sure. But that off day should happen like once every 2 weeks at most for Dane Myers at this point. I mean, because we're talking about a dude that has played in 89 ball games so far this year. He's got 229 total plate appearances. It's not as if he's getting ran into the ground like what's happening to Elly De La Cruz. But I digress on that. That's a topic for another day when Steve returns. But Dane Myers must play every day the rest of this season because there is a chance you can unlock that righty thing, open up his ability to hit right-handers, and then you do have an everyday center fielder, at least for 1 or 2 years. I mean, Dane Myers is currently not like at the point in his career where you're like, man, he's got a ton. He's not where Elly is. Elly's 24, Dane Myers is 30. But he still has a couple of good years under his belt left, albeit he didn't get called up till he's 27 anyway, so it's not like he has a ton of time under his belt. He's played 261 career games in 4 seasons. So if he can show himself to be a late bloomer, become an everyday center fielder for this team, that's one less thing that the Reds have to get on their shopping list that is already pretty long this offseason. The Reds, it would behoove the Reds to find out just how much value Dane Myers has, play him every day the rest of the way. Coming up next, Rhett Lowder unlocked a cheat code to watch out for the rest of this year and, quite frankly, the rest of his career. Make the most of these final months of the MLB season over on Kalshi, where you can trade on every single Reds game out there, including tonight's game against the Cardinals, where the Reds are trading at 48% to beat the Cardinals tonight, which means if you place a $100 trade on the Reds to win, and they do so, the payout will be $204.60 over on Kalshi, where you're trading against peers in a live market, which means that there is no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Download the Kalshi app today and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. I invite you to continue the conversation with me after the show is over about the Cincinnati Reds on social media. You can follow me on X or on TikTok at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. You can also follow Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs. You can follow the show at Locked On Reds on every social media platform. All right, Rhett Lowder pitched pretty decent. I mean, he did give up 4 runs. He didn't actually record a quality start, but he tied his career-long start at 6 2/3 innings. He's yet to go 7 innings in his career. Looking forward to seeing that happen here soon, because I really feel like Rhett Lowder has opened up a cheat code here. That is his 7th career start where he has pitched 6 or more innings. The Reds have won every single one of those games. The Reds as a team, not him personally. He's only 4-0 in these games this year, but the Reds are 6-0 in these games this year, and then he pitched greater than 6 innings one time 2 years ago, and the Reds won that game. So overall, 7-0 in games that Rhett Lowder has pitched 6 or more innings. So that's what he needs to do, right? Like, just pitch 6 or more innings. All right, we're good. We're done. Wrap things up, boys. That's a good way to end this one. But seriously, like, when you talk about what Rhett Lowder is as a pitcher, he is my favorite pitcher, not named Chase Burns. And you probably think that that's a little weird given that his statistics are kind of mid right now. I mean, his ERA is 5.17. His FIP says he's getting a little bit unlucky, but it's not like astronomically unlucky, whereas FIP, fielding independent pitching, the version of ERA that takes out the ability for the defense to affect the ERA, it's only 4.5. But that is a quality start. And I think that there's something about Rhett Lowder where I don't necessarily know that he's going to be an ace. The more that we watch him, I don't think that he is going to be the guy that pushes for an opening day start, that pushes for a first playoff game start, if all things are equal and you're just going based on merit. But I think he will be a middle of the rotation stalwart for years to come. And it's simply because he can strategize an entire game perfectly. He's got 4 pitches that he really throws enough for a hitter to have to worry about all 4 of them. Like a hitter cannot just key in on one pitch and say, that's the one I got to worry about. The rest of them I can just do whatever with. Like, he's got 4 pitches that he uses a lot. And on Monday's game, he even threw the curveball enough that it provided him some good empty strikes because he was able to land it in the strike zone. And then it set up his other pitches. I think that there's something to this for the rest of his career, that he's going to be able to strategize around these games, go deeper into the ball game, provide the Reds bullpen with some rest, but also continue this cheat code that seems to be, if he pitches 6 or more innings, the Reds win. And it's interesting because there's a pattern amongst those starts that, if he goes 6 or more innings, he actually doesn't have as many strikeouts as starts where he pitches less than 6 innings. He's got a number of 5, 5 1/3, 5 2/3 innings where he has like 6, 7, 8, 9 strikeouts in those games. And you love those strikeout totals. You wish you would go deeper. In the games where he pitches at least 6 innings, none of them have had more than 5 strikeouts. So he's not even having the strikeout rate of 1 per inning or, 9 strikeouts per 9. There's a lot of times when we're evaluating pitchers, we're like, all right, he needs more strikeouts because that strikeout per 9 ratio seems a little bit low. And I think in Rhett Lowder's case, we make an exception where him lowering his walk rate would be far more valuable than him increasing his strikeout rate. Like, I think there's value in increasing the strikeout rate for sure, but as of right now, the way that he pitches, that just means he's throwing more pitches earlier on in the game. So if he can focus more on the quick outs, focus more on getting ground balls and getting weak contact, which right now he's not excelling at. Baseball Savant doesn't love him. There's a lot of blue on his profile. Everydayers will know we talk about Baseball Savant, and you want red in your profile, you don't want blue. He's got a lot of blue. But some of the less blue are in areas like hard hit percentage, ground ball rate, and walk rate. And as long as that continues to tick up, I think everything else is going to follow suit. And we're going to see him become the kind of pitcher. Like, we could be talking about a rotation in a couple of years that boasts Chase Burns at the top, Andrew Abbott and Rhett Lowder in the middle, maybe Nick Lodell. He's only got 1 more year left on his contract, so what does that last year like is going? It's going to determine a lot about the Reds starting rotation as a whole. We've talked about that in past shows. I'm not going to get too deep into the Nick Lodell part of the Reds starting rotation because we're talking about the Rhett Lowder part of this. But you know for a fact you'll have 3 guys you can count on year in and year out. Can you unlock something with Brandon Williamson? Can you unlock something with Chase Petty? Is there somebody else that the Reds go to? Do they keep Brady Singer for multiple years? You have these guys that you can trust in the middle. And while that doesn't make the Reds pitching staff a true contender with the Dodgers to be the best starting pitching staff in baseball, it is a really, really good pitching staff that you can trust every 5th day. And if you've been around this team any amount of time, like I have, that's not always been the case. I mean, doubleheader notwithstanding, obviously doubleheaders are funky, and one of those games you're going to have a weird pitching day. And in the first game of the doubleheader, the Reds turned to Kent Emanuel, lefty out of, they called him up from Louisville. He'd literally been with Louisville like just a couple of weeks, and he was in independent ball before that. It feels like, but thankfully those occurrences have been much more rare these last 2 years than they were in the previous 5-6 years. Previous 5-6 years, there was a lot of situations where you were talking about Michael Mario or trying to think of some names here. There were more starts than anybody ever wanted to see from Asher Wojciechowski, or, so many different random names. You can think of them. I'd love to see your comments as to which ones you're remembering right now. But when it comes to Rhett Lowder, guys like that are reasons that other teams don't have those days as often as the Reds have seen in years past. So while the ceiling isn't super high for Rhett Lowder, I think the floor is really raising here. And that's the important part. Rhett Lowder can be the floor of this rotation. And if you're looking at Rhett Lowder and saying, that's the guy that you have to beat out to make the opening day rotation, then that's a really good thing. Because Rhett Lowder is the kind of strategic pitcher that on a day in and day out basis can really work with you sinker slider. And so as a hitter, you're rocking back and forth. You see the slider break away, the sinker break in front of you, or coming toward you. And then as you're rocking back and forth trying to figure out which one you're going to get, all of a sudden he drops in a curve. Or he drops in a change that's slower than the sinker, albeit with the same break pattern. And then he hits you with the four-seamer later on in the ballgame. There was something that was sort of impressive within the start on Monday night, and that was in the 7th inning whenever Rhett Lowder was pitching that deep into the ballgame. He was throwing his four-seamer more than he was throwing his sinker, and his four-seamer was touching 95. Like, Rhett Lowder's not a big velocity guy, but if late in the ballgame he can reach back and throw you a 95er after you've gotten used to the breaking balls and the curve and the change-ups and all that other stuff, hitters just aren't going to be able to game plan for him. They're going to have to react instead of be proactive. And I think that's going to be that's going to be an important thing for Rhett Lowder moving forward in his career, because I don't see him ever taking over Chase Burns as the best starter on this team. But he is going to be a reason that you love the starting pitching staff for years to come if he keeps building on what we've seen. He has had a rough year where, they brought him back. It felt like he probably needed more of a run in AAA at the beginning of the season, albeit he had starts in April that were fantastic. But then there were starts later April, May, that were rough. And then he goes on the injured list. And then he comes back. And then he's in the bullpen for a minute in July. And now he's back in the rotation. And it's starting to seem like the wheels are turning in a consistent, positive direction for him. And I want to continue to see that the rest of this year, because we're going to love this rotation with Rhett Lowder in it. I firmly believe that. Thanks for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Tomorrow, Steve returns, and I'm going to ask him a question about Terry Francona that has been burning a hole in my brain for the last couple of days. Make sure that you subscribe and follow Locked On Reds so that you get all of our latest episodes. You can also follow Steve and myself on social media. You can follow me at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs, Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs, and you can follow the show at Locked On Reds. There's no Fs in that, though. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Until next time, you know that we will be Locked On Reds every single day.